Welcome to The Other Side, Mississippi Today's political podcast. I'm Jeff Pender, joined here today with my colleague, Taylor Vance. Taylor, hello.
Hey, Jeff.
And we have a special guest today. It is Senator-elect Johnny DuPree, going to be serving Senate District 45. That's in Forrest County. And Senator DuPree is former longtime mayor of Hattiesburg. Many people may know him from there. And former gubernatorial candidate. In 2011, he was the first black person to be the nominee for a major political party in Mississippi.
That's correct.
And
since Reconstruction.
Since Reconstruction. That was in 2011. You also were the Democratic nominee for Secretary of State, correct, in 2019, and Democratic nominee for the 4th Congressional District race in 2022.
That's correct.
And I could go on. Senator DuPree and I go way, way back in a galaxy far, far away, Forrest County. You had to put up with a cub reporter covering the Forrest County Board of Supervisors when you were elected.
Correct. I was on the Board of Supervisors.
And I think you had an interesting name for him when you were on the Board of Supervisors, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw the byline. I was saying, who's out there? I mean, named Geoff. I mean, G-E-O. I mean, who's Geoff?
I remember a supervisor walking into the board meeting room and looking over at the press table and saying, holding a newspaper and saying, who is this Geoff that wrote this article, whatever. But I was telling you, Senator, I will always answer to Geoff for you and maybe a few other people that has stuck with.
That's over almost 30 years now, so it's been a while.
Has it been?
A while. Yeah, 25. Yeah, it's been a while.
It feels like it sometimes. But we really appreciate you joining us. Congratulations on your victory in this special election.
Thank you.
And we are right around the corner from you jumping into the fire and drinking from the water hose and dealing with the legislative session.
Yeah, we actually just met with the lieutenant governor.
Right.
And we actually sworn in on January the 6th at 9 a.m.
Okay.
It was scheduled for noon, but he recognizes that you want to have some me time.
Sure.
With your family, being sworn in.
Right.
It's one thing to do it as a communal kind of deal, but it's a special time. I was sworn in on the Board of Supervisors, sworn in as mayor, sworn in as president of municipal league. Those are times that are special. I even took pictures when we had a baby. So it was a special time. So he's going to allow us to have, the time with our family to be sworn in.
Good deal. Look, you're no stranger to politics, both on the local and state level. What's your overall take on what you're walking into here with state government?
Well, Jeff, everything I've been involved in, from getting married to having kids to being elected to several different positions, the very first day I say, when the hell have I done? So I'm probably in the same situation, same position. It's something that I think I'm looking forward to.
Sure.
Don't have any preconceived notions about what to expect or anything else. I'm a team player. I think people who run for these offices have the same thing in mind when they run. That's to make it better than they found it. And so that's no different than what I expect.
In your career and in other political offices, I've seen you work across party lines.
You have to.
Yeah.
Especially in a state like Mississippi, Jeff. Really, I tell people my wife taught me well. I talk about my mom and my wife and my family a lot. You gotta work across lines.
Sure.
My PhD is in political science, and Aristotle said that everything is political.
Right.
And it is. Just setting up this meeting was political. We had to work together. We had to work together, time and place and all those kinds of things. And so I realized, sure, there's some progress. You got to work around that. Now, that doesn't mean you got to agree on everything. But, if you got 10 items and you agree on 8, let's work on those 8.
Right.
Let's work on the 8, and then we'll work on those other 2 when we build relationships and that kind of thing.
Well, so I'm just curious. The reason that you had or that the special election was possible was because of redistricting and lawsuit and a federal court order that ordered redistricting or that ordered special elections.
Yeah.
So when you either read the news or when you looked at the court order and you found out that you lived in a district that was involved in a special election, what made you decide to run?
Well, this is actually the second time that this area has been redistricted because of lawsuits. The first time it happened, I think I was mayor. I think I was mayor.
2000-ish.
Yeah,
2001 elections.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it happened again. And of course, I wasn't an elected official. So when we heard about it, because I'm a life member of the NAACP, so I knew what was going on, and I knew I would be in the district.
Yeah.
But running was not on my plate. I'd been out of office for 8 years, 7 years at the time, and had my own little business and working with my family and my kids. But when you look at the district and an opportunity for someone to serve in the legislature that had the same heart, same mind as people live in the district, I felt that it needed to be somebody that had some unique knowledge of the district, and I do, school board, board of supervisors, and mayor, and I thought that we really started looking for somebody else. There was about 5 or 6 of us out there actually looking for other people to run, and couldn't find anybody that we felt had the credentials or had well, first of all, you have to have a desire to do it, and there was not many that had a desire. And then others, just a 2-year term, and this is not a 4-year term. Whatever. Look, for me to take this position or to even run and win, I've got to suspend my retirement. I can't take retirement while I'm in this office. So first I had to talk my wife into it, and she said okay. But it's important. It's important for people to live in any area, any district, to have people who know your area, know your district, know the people. I serve on the Red Cross Board of Directors. I serve on the Boy Scouts Board of Directors. I serve on the National Civic League. I serve on Dream Board. So I'm not inactive. I continue to be active on a volunteer basis. And I said, okay, maybe it's time for me to get back in. And that's why we ended up here. Plus, the super majority aspect of it meant a lot to me.
Well, we already know education issues, school choice, several others are going to be front and center this legislative session. You mentioned your background, former school board member. Mm-hmm. You hail from an area that education is super important.
Yes.
Both K-12 and higher ed.
Correct.
With Southern Miss to the top.
To the top, and William Carey University.
Right.
Have the only other medical school besides here in Jackson.
So, let's just jump into that. We know the House and Speaker White pushing expansion on school choice, vouchers, however you want to say it. You developed an opinion on that at this point, or
well, you know me, Jeff. You know I have. I have. I served on the school board.
Sure.
And we all heard of the Mississippi Miracle. Mississippi Miracle. Well, we finally almost achieved what everybody's trying to achieve educationally. And so now that you've achieved it, so what do? You achieve it, and then you take the money that allowed you or helped you to achieve it and say, okay, let's give it to somebody else. And when you look at the outcome of choice schools, charter schools, whatever you want to call it, and public schools, the outcome is so drastic. Our schools are A, B, the other ones are D, F. It's drastic. So you're going to take the Mississippi Miracle and you're going to defund it, and defunding it, not saying we're not going to fund it. You're going to take the money that you're allowed for public education. You're going to take part of it and give it to private. Both my grandsons live in Mobile, Alabama. Both attend, one's at USM now, a private school. My daughter understood, and her husband understand, that that's what they decided to put them in private school. And there's a consequence to that, and the consequence is that you're going to pay for it. People who want to do that need to and have to know that you're going to pay for that education if that's what you want, because there is an education provided for you in Mississippi that is now, just going leaps and bounds from where it needs to be. We need to pay our teachers more money. We don't need to defund or take money away from public schools. We need to give them more money so that we can have teachers not leaving here, going to Alabama or going to Florida to teach, but staying here to teach, so that Mississippi Miracle can remain, can stay, can thrive.
Well, speaking of Hattiesburg and education, up through, I'm wanting to say even the 90s, there were some issues there.
Oh, yeah.
Private schools, neighborhood schools. I remember that issue was going on. I think you probably had to.
Well, I was on
to deal
school board
with some
during
of
that time.
Right.
It was a tumultuous time. We ended up having, 4 or 5 private schools. We were on a desegregation court order, and
Right.
we wanted to achieve unitary status. And the way you achieve unitary status is you got to get to the point where schools are not racially identifiable. And the way you can do that, we could do that, was to institute busing, and so we did. And if you can imagine, a school that's 90% white students, and one day the buses drive up, and now the school is 65% black. Some parents flipped out, and the reverse on the other side too. And so there are 4 or 5 private schools, which are very good schools. They came up and they developed. A couple were already there, and then 2 or 3 more developed. Some people were taking their kids out of town to Laurel, Columbia, all these other schools. So it was a bad time, and but we weathered the storm, and we are now an A school, and so the miracle still exists.
Sure. Obviously, like I said, we know that's going to be a big issue.
It is.
But you coming into this with your background, are there any issues you want to tackle out of the gate?
I got so many.
We may not have time.
I don't think you have time. Yeah, there's several that I'm probably going to get a lot of pushback on. Besides education being top of mind, economic state of being. In my district, we go from 15-20% to 40-something% poverty rate. A lot of things that we tackled and we talked about in 2011, we're still talking and tackling. That is terrible. We've not made any progress. In fact, in some instances, we've regressed instead of made progress. When you can imagine that we're still working under a minimum wage of $7.25, and poverty rate is $15,600. $7.25, Jeff, is less than the poverty rate. So we have people out there who are working and making less than the poverty rate. Less than the poverty rate. We have our general fund in Mississippi depends on 47% of the money coming from the federal government.
Right.
47%. That's half.
Yeah.
And so the federal government says, okay, Mississippi, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a little bit of money from public education. We're going to take a little money from here. We're going to take some money here. So you're probably going to get 20, 25% instead of the 50%. So where do we find the money, Jim? Where do you find? You know where you find it? The federal government says, well, you go to the state. The state says, we don't have any money. So the state says, we go to the county. The county says, well, the only thing I can do is raise your car tag and your house property tax and all these other kind of things. And so we just raise all those. So see, what you now end up doing is you're now raising the cost of living for all the people that live not in your district, but in the state. Those who have the means, it doesn't bother them. But those who don't have the means, well, you're taking more income from them. And so on the other side, you have people who not only making minimum wage, but they're paying 5 cents for every meal they get from the grocery store. One of only 10 or 11 states that still have, you charge to eat. The state charge you to eat, sales tax. That's absurd. So now you got to pay more for your car tag. You got to pay more for your house, pay the taxes on your house. You got to still, even though they went down to 5%, you got to pay 5% on grocery tax. Oh yeah, by the way, we got to pay 3 cents more on the gas, just in case, And you got to pay more. Got to pay more for your because they raise the tax on natural gas, raise the tax on cell phone tax. So what does that guy do to make $7.25? I mean, it's tough. Oh, Oh, and yeah, by the way, the state says we don't have any money because we're going to give away $3 billion because we're going to reduce the state income tax down to zero. So we don't have any money. Well, that's why you don't have any money. So, yeah, there's some things that are top of mind.
I can't see you getting any pushback dealing with those
right.
issues.
Yeah, right.
Nothing controversial.
They'll tar and feather me, watch.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'm just giving back what the people I work for have said is interesting in that we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about legislation that is bottom up instead of top down. You know, we talk about economic development and doing these things that will get people to move to Mississippi. Who's going to move to a state that the minimum wage is $7.25, the education not where it needs to be, the medical condition that we in, healthcare is not where it needs to be? Because they don't pay state income tax. Those states that don't pay state income tax, like Florida and Texas, they got oil wells. They have Walt Disney. I mean
Disney World,
World, beaches, and we got a beach.
Well, we got a beach,
man-made, but it's still a beach, But who comes when you have in North Mississippi when you have hospitals that are closing, you have hospitals that have closed, you have more emergency hospitals than any other state. If you go there, you stay 24 hours and they ship you off to another hospital. You have only one hospital that delivers babies. Who's coming to a state like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, you're talking about healthcare. I know Forest General is very important to Hattiesburg, your district. I mean, what would you like to see the legislature tackle?
Well, first,
Medicaid.
I started off with 2011 with Medicaid. Medicaid expansion, because that farce about it's going to cost us more money. And people need to understand. I think we lack the understanding of some issues. When you're talking about Medicaid expansion back then, you're talking about them being the federal government, who is our big brother, because that's our biggest industry. And when you have an industry that's paying you half of what your general fund is, that is your industry. And the federal government is our industry. And so they were saying, federal government was saying, we will come in and we will fully fund Medicaid expansion for hundreds of thousands of people, and you don't pay a dime for 5 years, okay? Now, after the 5 years, guess what? We're going to pay 90% and you pay 10 cents. But you know what? They said, that's going to cost us too much money. That's bull. You know why? Because if you had Medicaid expansion, and you get mamas and daddies and children and grandmamas and all that, and you get them healthy with preventive medicine, then 5 years from now, they're healthy. You actually pay less money. And let me tell you how I know that. When I ran for governor and then went back to Hattiesburg, we still had the healthcare issue. So we opened up in Hattiesburg Employee Clinic, where employees went there free. If they had family plan, the family went free. So what happened? We self-insured, had to keep $1 million, $2 million in the bank or whatever to make sure we could cover the premium. So what happened? The employees started going to the clinic instead of to the emergency room. So we didn't have to use our insurance because it was free. We were paying a nurse practitioner and a phlebotomist, and they saw them. Productivity went up. Absenteeism went down. Health of the family became better. We spent less money. We reduced the amount of money we had to put in the bank because they were healthier. Because we had provided them with health care. We provided with preventive health care. That's what would have happened to the citizens of Mississippi. We would actually spent less money, and our people would have been healthier. And we wouldn't be battling hospitals closing. We got to think outside the box. We got to put on our big boy shoes and our big boy pants and say, okay, we were wrong. And that's what we got to do. We got to say some of the things that we did or didn't do, we were wrong. We are looking at states that are not taking Medicaid expansion. Most states took it. We're looking at states that went to zero on grocery tax. There are more states that went to zero. We're looking at the minority of states, and the minority of states that don't do what's best for the citizens are like Mississippi. They end up where we are. That's why we haven't moved, because instead of looking at what the majority of the states are doing, we're looking at what the minority and we hadn't moved. I pray. I hope that I really want D.C. to have statehood. I really do. The only reason I wouldn't want them to have statehood because instead of Mississippi being 50, it would be 51st. That's the only reason. That's the only reason.
Senator, I'm thinking back to your tenure as mayor when you were running for mayor. It seems like I can't recall ever listening to you then when I didn't hear the word small business.
Yeah.
You mentioned economic development.
Yeah.
You were largely focused, as I recall, and when you ran for governor, on small business, focus on them. Is that still kind of your mantra on development?
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm a small business owner myself. My wife is, we have been. When I was on the Board of Supervisors, we received a grant from the state, from the feds through the state, economic development. And we had what we called a shirt factory. I think it was a shirt factory over near the convention center.
Right.
Well, they closed. I think it was either that or automobiles. I can't remember. Yeah, Stevens
factory.
I think that's what it was. Anyway, they closed. And so there was a $700 clawback or something that they closed. And so we Forest County in Hattiesburg, Forest County, had to send the money back to federal government. Which that doesn't help us out. We're trying to develop small businesses. And so a couple of us went to Washington and we pleaded our case to them. And we started what they call SimKick. I can't remember the acronym, but it actually has to do with loans for small businesses, where the criteria, first of all, which is start out, you just had to be turned down by 2 banks. Well, if you're a small business owner, that ain't a problem.
That's not a problem.
That's not a big issue. And so that is still existing now. It's housed in our convention center, run by the Area Development Partnership. I talked to a nurse just last month on the campaign trail. Maybe it was in November, the campaign trail. She's a nurse. I'm sorry, she's a medical doctor. Wanted to open her own practice. If you believe it, she couldn't get a loan. She went to them, SimKick. They loaned her the money to get started. First time I ever heard of a doctor that couldn't get a loan.
Right.
And there's some other stuff, but she's a terrific doctor. So we have done everything we could. One of the questions when I became mayor was, would he be for small businesses? You can't really find anybody to tell you that I'm not. We've done, I think, a lot of different things in Hattiesburg to support small businesses, and we'll always continue, because that is the backbone of America. We just need more. We need more. When you look at live in a state like ours, you can't. The big bucks not coming here. I mean, big factory. I mean, we got Nissan and those, but
we're getting these data centers. We're going to have one on every corner.
But we won't pay the people who are working there. I mean, really. I mean, look, we got one in Hattiesburg. I mean, I brought 3 data centers. Call centers or whatever.
Right, some of the first. First I ever heard of.
We had the malls that were going out of business, and we went and recruited call centers that connected with Medicaid expansion and Social Security and those kind of things. But the owners they're making millions. They just don't pay the people what they should be paying them. And so I believe in small businesses. We are consumers. The big boys that got all the money depend on us. We can start redistributing some of that money. That's why I said they don't like me. We can start redistributing some of that money when you have your own small businesses, where you don't have to go out and say, will you please give me a raise? You develop your own raise.
You mentioned small business loans, capital startup money. Mm-hmm. I mean, as long as I've been an adult, I've heard people complaining we lack so much of that. Incubator, small business loans, venture capital.
All those things especially the incubators. In 2011 we really laid on incubators because when people don't have, you may can get a loan, but most of the time the banks give you just enough money to hang yourself. You need 100,000, so they give you 50, and they expect you to make it. And when you're telling them I need 100, but you take the 50 because it's better than nothing. And so you take the 50, but can you imagine if you need 100, you got 50, but there's this building over here that has secretarial help, that has really low rates as far as rental. You got a communal kind of copy machines, all these
Back
things.
office.
Back office
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
yeah.
That costs you less money. You can make it with $50,000 and really in a couple of years move out and then somebody else moves in. And I'm surprised. We had one in Jackson years and years ago. I'm surprised we don't push those kinds of things. And that's those kind of things that we need to be looking at.
Well, Senator, I know we could be here much longer
Yeah, we
talking
could
about
be.
many issues, but congratulations again, and we would like to secure a promise that you will come back on and check in with us and keep us abreast as the session gets rolling.
I'm sure you've already got bills that you're working on and drawing up and ready to file them on day one.
Oh no, they've been filed next year. Next week, they've been filed next. I've already talked to I've talked to the legislative assistants just about 30 minutes ago. I've got a meeting with them next week, and I'm going to start sitting down with them and filing them.
I just would have expected you would be a shrinking violet. We wouldn't hear.
I'm shrinking. I'm just not a violet. Let me tell you what I'm doing. I know we're short on time. What we lack here in Mississippi, to my expectation, is educating the people that we represent. And I say educating them. I'm not talking about formal education. I'm talking about informing them about what we do, what we can do, what we can't do. And I get people saying, when I was on the trail, can you help me? My street needs to be paved. Well, we don't do that. But I can point you to the person who can. And so on December the 11th at 6 o'clock, I'm going to do something that, as mayor, I had State of the City address. I mean, we had all those things that were informing the people about what we did, what we didn't do. And so December 11th, 6 o'clock. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how many people are going to attend. But we're going to tell the people who we represent, Percy Washington and myself, Representative Percy Washington, who is the longest serving legislator in now, who's still serving. We're going to inform people about what we do. What does a senator do? What does a state representative do? What can we do? How do you get a bill passed? What does that mean? If a bill passes, we're going to tell them what it means. If it doesn't, why we couldn't. If you can get on a committee, why couldn't you get on a committee? Why? I mean, we're going to give them, and then give them information so they can come back again, maybe in the middle of the session, and now formulate questions. It's hard to formulate a question when you don't have any idea of what the subject is or anything about it.
Sure.
So we're going to inform them, educate them, then try to get them come back in the middle and say, okay, this is what's being debated. This is what passed. This is what might pass. This is where we are. Like we talked about school choice. Okay. And then at the end of the session, say, okay, school choice passed. What does that mean? School choice didn't pass. What does that mean? Informing and educating. And I think that's why we have so much apathy, because they come in, I'm not going to vote for that guy because I asked him to pave my street and he didn't do it. Well, I don't pave streets. So if you're not voting for me because I didn't pave your street, you will never vote for me because I don't pave streets. But you got to know who helps you pave the street.
Right.
Okay? And so we're going to start that process. Anyway.
Well, again, appreciate you coming on and talking with us, and hope to make that a regular event.
I hope so. I'll come anytime you ask, Jeff. You said either one, I'll come either time.
You said Jeff. What?
I'm trying to get prim and proper.
Okay. This is Geoff signing off, and again, appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you all, man. Thank you.